Okay, LaRae, I love doing this. Pop quiz. What's worse than realizing you forgot to collect a copay from your patient this morning?
Well, what's worse is realizing that you actually forgot to collect it 6 weeks ago and it's still sitting on your 60 plus day AR.
Yes, exactly. Uncollected money does not age like wine. It ages like milk, which is
It
gross.
sure does. And once it hits that 90 plus days, good luck chasing it down without a search warrant.
Yes. So today we're actually going to talk about AR, right? And so in a previous podcast, we talked about the patient portion, and that's kind of the upfront part. But today we're going to talk about the AR, the stuff that goes to live in your AR that just lives there, right? And just is how to spot when you're in trouble. What could be contributing to those issues?
Welcome to the Truth Decay Podcast, talking dollars and cents with Sara Baker and LaRae McMullen.
So I'd like to start with what is a really important benchmark that you should be monitoring in your office. So a healthy AR aging profile should roughly be, okay, and again, this is dependent on your office and where you're kind of starting on this journey of maintaining your AR, right? Like this might not be what your office looks like here at the beginning. But ideally, when you print your AR report, and any practice management software that you use, typically it'll have columns of how old each balance is, right? So the 0 to 30 day column should account for about 75% of that total number.
Yep.
Okay. So 31 to 60 days, it should drop to about 15%, ideally. Okay. 15%, again, of that total number. 61 to 90 days should be 7%. And your over 90 day plus should really only be 3%. 3%. Okay. So if you're outside of those numbers, I don't want you to panic, but alarm bells should be going off a little bit. Those are healthy numbers and they're doable numbers. So if you are outside of those, we need to talk.
Yeah. Little bit of interactive homework for you right now. We would encourage you to maybe pause this little podcast and go run your AR report right now and maybe have it with you while we go through this episode. Because as we always like to say, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So even if you do run this report on a regular basis, what's the harm in running it and having it with you right now?
Totally. And something I want to toss out as we start this conversation, like, as an outsourced billing company, we concentrate on those final balances, right? Like that's our job. Our job is to go collect the money that is outstanding for you. But part of your AR, if you are running your AR in total, right? Part of your AR is your credits. So a lot of people don't think about that, right? Yeah. But when you are running your accounts receivable, it includes any credits that you have. So remember that, like, as you are examining your AR report, like the very first podcast we ever did was about credit balances and how important it is to have a routine of maintaining those. But I just want, again, up the top, LaRae just said, go run your AR report so you have it in front of you. If you're looking at that number and you're like, well, this number's great. My total number is amazing. That's why we're encouraging you today to like look at those columns, because if you have, $150,000 in credits that are bringing that AR down, you are not understanding the full picture of what's happening with your ARs.
You're not getting the accurate numbers for each one of those columns.
That's like actual money that's due to you, right? So just think about that as we're going forward. Go listen to our first podcast if you need to. But again, we concentrate on balances. So that's what we're talking about today.
Yeah. So, with that being said, what causes those AR numbers to start to get away from you? Let's discuss in this episode some reasons, because if we identify reasons, we can talk about solutions. So, item 1, not collecting accurate patient portions at the time of service.
Absolutely. We've done an entire podcast just on collecting patient portions, like recently. But if your estimated copay, coinsurance collections process right out the gate is off, you are already starting your collections process behind. You're at a disadvantage. Like that system, that process needs to be looked at and examined and a priority as you are thinking about what's going on with your AR.
Yeah. When patients walk out with treatment, they've just had treatment, and not only have they not paid, but you didn't even explain to them and let them understand what their possible responsibility could be, your AR is absolutely going to suffer. You didn't dodge the problem. You just scheduled it for a later time to have to deal with it, and now it's going to be a bigger problem to deal with.
Absolutely. And so second culprit in your AR bloat, which is actually the first place we look when we go into a new office, your insurance aging, your insurance follow-up. If your 30+ day column is blown out on your AR, right? You see like a really huge, a lot of times on those AR reports too, there's an estimated from insurance portion on there somewhere. If that is huge, like you need to go run your insurance aging report and go check that out. Like, so take your AR report, put it over here, go print your insurance aging report and take a look at it.
Yeah, because claims that aren't followed up on, they become ghost balances. Your insurance aging report will grow exponentially, which will make it harder and harder to work that report from top to bottom every week. Because that is what we suggest, is making sure that you print it once a week and literally work it from the first claim to the last at least once a week. Very, very important.
Yeah, consistency, right, is key. And the third reason for the AR bloat potentially is consistency of statements. Yeah. Like, are your statements going out every single month without fail? Like, are they? Or is it super staggered and just when you feel like it's choking you because your AR's gotten so big and they haven't gone out, do you just send them all out in a rush?
Yeah, hoping to get some money in.
Yes, like a big influx of it, right? Like, not just that, are they going out on a regular basis for all accounts over 30 days old? We advocate for doing that. I can understand why some offices don't want to do that, because again, if your process isn't super like consistent and your patients aren't trained, when those statements go out, you get a lot of feedback. You get patients calling, right? And I know a lot of offices are very put off by that happening. But like, if a patient owes a balance, they need to be kept in the loop about it. You really lose. The office loses by not keeping the patient in the loop about their balances, even if there's a claim outstanding. Yeah. And I can understand if you haven't had time to follow up on that claim, and that's part of the reason why you're so reluctant to like let them know that there's still a balance outstanding. But you have to keep going back and figuring out, well, then like, why is the claim still outstanding? Like, it's all part of it, right? So that's the third part of the AR potentially getting huge, is like, are your statements going out regularly and why not?
Yeah, because if they're not going out regularly, you're really just creating suspense without resolution. Patients don't know whether you forgot or if that balance is even real or if they just don't owe anything. So like Sara said, consistency in sending those statements out, even if there still is a claim pending. Yes, I know that it's going to open up those phone lines, but I would actually argue if you're doing it consistently, it's going to knock that down, because you're going to get a bajillion phone calls if you only send statements once every 3 months or once every 6 months, because then everybody doesn't understand what's going on. But if they get a statement once a month, then they know, read that note at the bottom. If I still have questions, I'll call in, but this is typical. This is normal. Train your patients.
Absolutely. And that actually ties into the fourth major reason, which is follow up on final balances. That could be why that AR is just growing exponentially, right? So sending regular monthly statements, awesome. Love that. If you're utilizing your practice management software and you're just boop boop and sending monthly statements, love that. But if you do not pair that with a consistent process where you are following up with a letter, a call, a text, if it's allowed, some kind of,
outreach.
reach out. Statements just become white noise, right? It just becomes another email, potentially, if you're doing it electronically. It becomes another thing that you don't go check your mailbox for a million years and then you just huck, right? Patients don't see statements as something important anymore. They start to see statements as just something to ignore. And again, another way of saying that is they start seeing their financial responsibility to you as optional because you're treating it as optional. So that's the fourth reason, is your follow-up. What does your follow-up look like on those balances that are just starting to make that AR stack up?
Yeah. Many practices actually rely on statements alone because they don't have the resources for additional dedicated follow-up. So that's how patient balances stack up and just get added to that AR, getting bigger and bigger and more helpless and a lot harder to get back in.
Ultimately, some other kind of notable weak points in your AR that we'd point out that you just might want to like have a little noodle on. Are you submitting your claims on a regular basis? Right? Is that kind of contributing to this sort of ebb and flow? Postponing EOB follow-up, which delay final balances being due and being able to be followed up on, right? So these all create opportunities for that aging AR. And ultimately, hopefully, if you're thinking about those four major reasons, those could be conclusions that you come to, but those are some major ones that we see.
And then finally, the killer silent leak is no regular review of your AR aging. So like we said, print that report out, go over it. Right now would be a good time. We talk about this all the time. If you don't look at those aging reports weekly or monthly, you don't even know that you're bleeding. It's just kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
Well, we had a client, LaRae, that the client, I think we've even talked about this client before, that they actually produced and collected an insane amount of money a month. Like, it was a lot of money. And so you would look at those numbers and you would think, this guy's doing great. Like, he's killing it. But when you looked at his AR was over like $5 million.
Yeah.
It was just, and I get it. So you're producing out of your mind, you are collecting quite a bit up front, but then when you're looking at how much work you're doing and producing compared to what you're collecting and what just goes to sit on the shelf until never, right?
You're doing free work.
I think his AR, or I think his collections to production, adjusted production ratio was like 50 to 60% or something, So yeah, your numbers looked great just in a vacuum, but all in all, there was just absolutely no regular review of the aging. There was no thought given to any of these processes that we're talking about. So, he was working a lot harder and not smarter, I think, and so that's what we're advocating.
Sarah, I'm a Disney adult, and this little thing reminds me of a Tiana song. Do you know what I'm going to say? You got to dig a little deeper.
A little deeper.
For real, though, dig a little deeper.
Hey, email us about that, too. We love talking about that. Yeah. So,
all right.
If you didn't run your AR report earlier when we told you, you naughty, naughty boy or girl or whoever you are, right? We saw you.
Yeah.
And go do it now. Go. Come on. We're talking about this right now. Like, stop being a weenie. Go run your report and come back and check out your 0 to 30, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, and 90 plus day columns. Look at them right now. Compare to the benchmarks that we mentioned earlier. 75%, 15%, that's a big drop. 7%, 3%. So like identify where you're off. We talked about the reasons. Let's start talking about solutions to those reasons.
And if you're just starting and your 90 plus days AR is over 5 to 10%, that's your number one red flag. We're not kidding. Time to start a cleanup process. Old balances, stale claims, and patient outreach.
Yes. So get ready, because fix number 1, tighten your patient portion collections process. So again, we just did a podcast about this. Go listen to it if you haven't. Estimate as accurately as possible and collect at the, like, when the patient comes in, right? Like, do not let them leave without you collecting that estimated patient portion. No more will just send you a statement.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, stop that.
Fix number 2, formalize insurance follow-ups. Any claim not paid in 30 days gets reviewed, worked on, and resubmitted, appealed, noted, or closed. No exceptions.
Absolutely. Build a workflow around this. So claim submission, 30-day check, insurance aging, weekly follow-up.
Yeah.
Okay. No alternative. You have to do this. If you don't have the resources to do this right now, find them. Like, because you have to. You are losing money if you are not following up on your AR report from top to bottom weekly. So make it automatic, make it a process, make it a priority.
Fix number 3, statement submission discipline. Statements go out on a schedule, the same time every single month on old balances over 30 days old, whether it's a final balance or it's still pending from insurance. This way, patients know what's going on, not just assuming it's done and they don't have a balance. And then my little final thing on this fix number 3 would be use that note section on your statements. Like, train your patients to read those notes. It could possibly cut down on the amount of phone calls you're going to get.
So much. Yes, that's such a good tip. Related to that, fix number 4, multi-touch final balance follow-up. So the same way I said, if you have to follow up on those insurance claims. You have to. If you don't have a way to do it right now, get it. If you don't have a way that you are following up on these old balances on a regular basis, get one. Like, you gotta get one. So statements, letters, phone calls, text messages, if your patients are opted into that. Don't just rely on one method. Like, the purpose of this is to close these loops and get these balances paid. Older balances need more attention. If they've gotten to that point, something didn't go right earlier. Yeah. So like, you need to be able to close those loops. And in a perfect world, the old balances are easily identifiable. You know what's going on with them. Hopefully there's something that's kind of like weird going on with them. The patient, I don't know, they're just being or it's an old balance that you're doing payments on, or something happened, right? Like something of note. It's not a $25 copay that you're spending weeks on. That is an issue that you should have thought about before. So multi-touch final balance follow-up is vital.
Yeah, for sure. Because honestly, you can't just send statements to everybody in the mail and assume that it actually got to everybody. So multi-touch, because you sending a statement thinking, oh, Sara got her statement. She maybe didn't get her statement. Maybe she moved.
That's right.
Maybe her husband got it, thought it was junk mail and threw it away. You just never know what happened. So multi-touch for sure. And then moving on to fix number 5, track KPIs. Again, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We just did a whole podcast on KPIs that you should be monitoring: AR ratio, collection percentages, and quite a bit of others actually. So start tracking numbers and see if it helps those percentages in your AR columns. Use that data to course correct.
Ultimately, what we're saying is that you need to make AR maintenance. And if it's a cleanup at this point for you, that's okay. But you need to make your AR maintenance a regular habit, right? So we recommend at least monthly, if not, the way we feel it's most successful is like twice monthly, right? So you've got one section for like one part dedicated to sending the statements, and then halfway through the month, you can do follow-up on the ones that need follow-up, right? So you need to make decisions about unpaid balances. Don't wait for your AR to like explode, right? You need to keep your aging report what we call like clean and active. You want to be able to print your aging report, and every single name on that aging report is a patient who came into the office recently. When I say recently, I mean at least the last year or so, right? Ideally within the last 6 months, but sometimes that's not like reasonable. But often we come into offices and we run those reports, and there are balances that are from 2, 3, 4, 5+ years ago that are just living there.
Years ago.
That are just living there. And at that point, like, the first question we always ask is, okay, what do you want to do about these? I mean, at this point, you sometime in the past you did this work. What do you want to do about it now?
Yeah.
Like, so you want to keep it manageable, because that's how you're able to collect on the good work that you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm. And also remember that an AR ratio, it isn't 0. 1, 1.5, you should have some AR, because a healthy AR is more than numbers. It's cash flow stability and the ability to keep serving patients without financial stress.
That's right. Yeah, that's actually a really good point, is you're not going to not have an AR.
Yeah.
You're going to have an AR. A healthy office has claims outstanding, has, balances that are living there. There's just guidelines. That's why the ideal, those columns, it's not 0 in over 30 days. Mm-hmm. It's, it allows for that. So yeah, that's a really good point. So LaRae, what are 2 action steps that our listeners can do right now?
So, like we said before, pull your AR aging report, look at the percentages of each column, really look through it, and compare it to your KPIs.
And then, based on our discussion today and what you've learned, talk to your team and maybe identify 2 or 3 processes where you may feel like there's some weak spots, right? So, it could be maybe your team gives you feedback that they don't have enough time to talk to patients beforehand, that maybe they're taken too fast, right? That's an easy fix. Everybody can communicate and allow for a little more time for your front to speak with the patients, right? Maybe your team says, oh, I don't really know what to say about them collecting patient portions, like before they come in. Phenomenal. Like, that's great. Let's figure out what they need to say. Just a little 3-second line that they say that could really literally turn around, patients' expectations of what they're going to pay when they come into the office. So this is a worthwhile conversation to have. And then assign some responsibility, like set some deadlines for fixes. You as the dentist, though, as the practice owner, this is not something that I would gently encourage for this not to be something that you are assigning to your staff. Like, you need to be involved in this. These processes
they need to know
are ultimately
what you want to say. Give them a little bit of a script.
Yes.
Something that makes them comfortable. And some outliers, right? If the patient comes back with a question and you've already discussed with your front office staff kind of how you'd like to see the flow, they might have a better answer for that. And it won't be...
That's right.
It won't be like, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, because you've already had that discussion and they know what it is that you want.
That's right. And because ultimately too, it's your process,
right? As
the practice owner, right? And your team helps you develop it, and they're the ones that are kind of like responsible for acting it out, but it's your money. It's your AR. It's your balances that are on there from 5+ years ago. So you do need to take an active role, I think, in these conversations. And ultimately, I think your team might appreciate the interest and the follow-up on this, right? And like you asking them questions about what they need. What kind of things do they feel a little less confident about, right? So those are things that we highly recommend that you do today.
All right, Sarah, so what are our top takeaways for today?
So number 1, your AR aging report is hopefully your early warning system, right? Again, I want to be clear. If you did what we asked and you ran your aging report and you are in a corner sobbing right now, I'm with you. I hear you. I see you. We are all live, laugh, loving together. Okay. So, but the hope is that you're at a point where you're doing maintenance on this. And so when ideally your numbers start to like swing up, that's an early warning system for you where you can go, oh, something's happening, right? And you can take steps to correct it. That's kind of like the goal. Yeah. So know your numbers. Be watching your numbers. That is number one. Know your numbers.
Number two, weak spots usually start at collections or at follow-up. So we really encourage you to investigate process failures and not necessarily individual patients. So you should have an entire process that runs the same each time.
Number three, a disciplined, consistent billing system. Collecting, insurance aging follow-up, patient AR follow-up, statements, outreach. That is what is going to keep your AR in check. Period. End of story. Like, it has to be done. You cannot just give your AR attention once every 6 months and expect those numbers to be reflective of like a healthy, steady cash flow. You have to have resources dedicated where this maintenance is happening on a routine basis every single month. And LaRae, like you said, arguably it's actually going to make it easier if you are dedicating the resources to do it that way, as opposed to like this big, giant, horrible cleanup once every 6 months.
Gosh,
right?
That's so daunting. No, like that can literally be something that in your front staff, they don't have time for, but it's also like just weighing them down, and it just keeps getting pushed to the wayside. Like, I'll get to it. It's kind of a big project. It doesn't have to be if you're doing it consistently.
If only there was a company that would do that for you.
That already has a plan.
It's so weird. Crazy. So, AR creeping up, it doesn't have to be a mystery. It's not a mystery, honestly. Most of the time, it's your systems, not your patients, that are causing the leak. Real talk. Like, ultimately, of course, it's patients that are like, you know,
there's gonna be some patient issues, but like that's not the larger problem, right?
We could tell you some shit, let me tell you. But usually it is your systems. It's your systems.
So fix the processes, collect what's owed, keep claims clean, and keep revenue flowing.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all liked what you heard today, consider subscribing to us, maybe on whatever platform you're listening to us on right now. You can absolutely send us an email at hello@thetruthDecayPodcast.com, or check us out at sddentalsolutions.com. We'd love to answer your questions. We would love to get yelled at, right? If you think something we said was wrong.
I wouldn't.
I'll take it. That's fine.
Yeah, Sarah can take it.
Yeah, address any other issues that you might have. Like, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
You can find us on LinkedIn, both Sara, myself, and SD Dental Solutions. You can find us on Instagram, and we are also on Facebook. So come say hi if you see us on one of those platforms.
Yes. Thank you guys all so much for listening to us. And we will see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.